Welcome to Blue Jays Today, where today, guys, we've got a signing. We've got a signing. Yes. Let's go. Let's go. Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays, they have signed Mr. Kevin Kiermaier back on a one-year deal to the Toronto Blue Jays. In this video, we're going to break down our reactions. We're going to look at what does this mean for the Blue Jays for the 2024 season. And are we still going to be on Kevin Kiermaier or on Cody Bellinger after signing Kevin Kiermaier? We're going to break it all down. Before we do, guys, make sure to hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Obviously, guys, this is not our usual setup. It's the holidays. It's Christmas. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody watching at their homes if they are home. And if you're not, hopefully you have some friends and family around you that can keep you company this holiday season. Nick is going to be joining us at some point. He's also with his friends and family today. But we had to go live. We had to go live so that we can talk about the first move. The first move. Let's see if I got my sound effects here. The first move of the season, of the offseason for the Toronto Blue Jays. It is re-signing a familiar face, Kevin Kiermaier. Let's flash over really quick to the breaking news. It was by Mark Feinsand. And he was the one who initially broke the news. And this is awesome, guys. Let's just share this, and I'll give you guys my initial thoughts. Mark on Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, he came out here and he said Kevin Kiermaier is closing in on a 1 year, on a deal to return to the Blue Jays per source. Believed to be 1 year, $10 million. That was the initial breaking news. So big shout out to Mark, and big shout out to Tyler, who sent this to us. I didn't reply to him right here because I just jumped on and I was like, I got to go live for this stuff right here. But yeah, big shout out to Mark with the breaking news. So what's my initial thoughts? First of all, great. This is a great start to the offseason. We know Kevin Kiermaier isn't the big bat that we wanted, right? But this isn't the only move, right? Kevin Kiermaier is going to be a complementary piece to what will eventually, hopefully, be the big move of this offseason. Kevin Kiermaier, we know, can give you stellar Gold Glove defense. He literally did it last year, winning a Gold Glove. And we know, too, with the bat, he can be a presence. He can actually show up and be somewhat of a presence. Let me share the screen right here. We're doing it's a whole new setup here, guys, so apologies for any sort of delays. Kevin Kiermaier, last year, he batted .265 with the Toronto Blue Jays. OPS of 741. OPS plus 104. That's a slightly above average bat. Can steal some bags. He can go get it with the glove, as we know. Okay? So, yes, for me, this is a good start. 33 years old, yes. Is he going to put up the kind of year he had last year? I wouldn't expect him to. You look at his career, right? I mean, 2022, the year before he just had in 2023 with the Blue Jays, 88 OPS plus, so below average player, but he also was coming off. He had he had to do a surgery into the offseason, so he was hurt that season. Before that, above average. You know, he's kind of just an average hitter in his career, 98 OPS plus. So I'm going to not anticipate anything crazy with the bat. He can be our best 9 hitter in the league, or hopefully, we'll talk about this a little bit later in the video, hopefully he can kind of be that fourth outfielder if we do make a bigger signing, maybe a Hernandez, maybe a Soler, maybe a Cody Bellinger. He can kind of slot in as that fourth outfielder with some incredible glove coming off the bench. Maybe in the late innings he comes in, right? You need some good players on your baseball team. Kevin Kiermaier is a good player. Don't get worked up at thinking that this is the only player that we're going to get in the outfield. I don't believe that's going to be the case. He's going to be a supporting player, a supporting cast member for these Toronto Blue Jays, right? And that's why I love this move. That's why I love Kevin Kiermaier. And plus, as a fan, too, I mean, hell, the guy was awesome, right? Who didn't love watching Kevin Kiermaier go get it in the outfield, right? You absolutely love to see it. And again, it's 1 year. It's a 1 year deal. We got Ben Nicholson-Smith over here. Let me flash it over. Ben Nicholson-Smith confirming the details on this signing right here. Blue Jays on agreement with Kevin Kiermaier on a 1 year, $10.5 million deal, pending physical per source. Yep, Feinsand was first on it. But that's right. Low risk, man. Great signing. We were talking for a while before I went on the holidays here. we were talking for a while that we needed to make some sort of move, right? We need to make some sort of move to just fill out the roster, get the complimentary piece before we go out and we sign Cody Bellinger, because he was going to be a lot later, right? So we need to go out and make some sort of move, and this is that move, and he slots in perfectly with the Blue Jays. You're getting a familiar face to the Blue Jays system. We're actually going to bring in Nick right here. We're bringing him in. I know he's going to have his 2 cents right here. Let's welcome in everybody. We've got Nick phoning in from Victoria's Place. Hello, Nick. What's up?
How's it going, everybody? Let us know how the audio sounds, because we've tried this before and it hasn't been perfect. So let us know if I am sounding okay and everybody can hear me properly.
That's pretty good, Nick.
Interesting deal for sure. I mean, not necessarily the big fish that I think everybody has been talking about and rumoring the Toronto Blue Jays to be in on, because we have been on every single big fish that you can think of. We've been in on fucking orca whales at this point. But Kevin Kiermaier, even though I love the guy, is not that. He is a very quality player, and he's somebody that I think anybody would want to have on their team. And I have been listening to what it is that you're saying here, and I kind of love that you're pumping the brakes a bit on the panic mode, because I've seen some people on Twitter already, responding to the initial report, responding to us and saying, oh my God, like, Blue Jays, they're supposed to be in on all these things. We're supposed to be getting better. What is this? We go from Ohtani to this. I don't think that this is the only thing that is going to transpire here, folks. I don't think that you get Kevin Kiermaier and then you're automatically out on everybody else, right? You could still go out and acquire potentially a Cody Bellinger or a Rhys Hoskins or something like that. In fact, and I would love it if you could flash over here, Bob Nightingale came out about 5 minutes ago, and he said that the Toronto Blue Jays, they are still in on Cody Bellinger. Even though the Cubs, they're going to have a bigger need, the Toronto Blue Jays, they are still going to be in on Cody Bellinger. And I think for me, that is something that I'm very happy to see, because again, I hear what people are saying. I had that initial feeling of, oh God, this is it. This is our outfield. No, we're still in on the big fish.
Look, I mean, we were even talking before the holidays. We needed to go out and get something to fill out the roster, right? And yeah, it's nothing new, but I look back at the Blue Jays in 2023. Kevin Kiermaier wasn't the problem for the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Like, yeah, sure. His runners in scoring position average, I think, was 222. I checked right before here. OPS below 700. But no one's expecting that from Kevin Kiermaier. You're expecting a guy, and hopefully this is the transition. You're expecting a guy to now be your fourth outfielder, be your best number 9 hitter. Like, hell, he was the best number 9 hitter in baseball, you could argue, right? Like, the role that you're asking for him for a 1 year, $10.5 million is exactly what he's going to deliver. And I think we're going to see something very similar. So, yeah, it's not the end deal. I mean, hell, the big move last year in the outfield was getting Varsho. We got Varsho after we got Kevin Kiermaier. So Kevin Kiermaier is going to complement what we're going to do a little bit later. And we know that Bellinger, speaking of Bellinger, he's going to be a little bit later. So this is just going to complement and just fill out the roster for the future.
I think that that's a great comparison that you just made there, saying, yeah, we got Kevin Kiermaier before we went out and we got Dalton Varsho. I actually completely forgot about that, but that's a perfect comparison, saying, hey, listen, we're filling out the team. And that's something that we've both been calling for, saying, be in on Cody Bellinger, be in on Soler, be in on Rhys Hoskins, be in on these guys. But also don't forget that you still need to have a ball team that you can field next year. And it can't all be a bunch of, rookies or prospects. Even though some of them are exciting, it can't all be that. You have to plan for the eventuality of you don't get Cody Bellinger. And then if you do get him, you're that much better off. Or you do get Soler, you're that much better off. I think that Kevin Kiermaier is a perfect kind of plan B or fallback option here, because if you do end up missing out on some of those other guys, well, it's not completely the end of the world, because at least you were able to go out, hedge your bets a little bit, and acquire a guy like Kevin Kiermaier, who you know exactly what you're going to get. And he was phenomenal for the Toronto Blue Jays last year, being that guy, being able to lead that outfield defensively speaking, and then also come up relatively clutch in that 9 spot, which is something that a lot of teams do not have the luxury of having.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I mean, at least you're fielding 3 outfielders now. That was the problem. We literally had 2. You had George Springer, you had Varsho. Now you have an outfield. Congratulations, right? And yes, he's not going to be the bat like we said, but I want to flash over to Keegan Matheson tweet right here that kind of just hopefully calms everybody down, because I think everybody's worried about the bat, right? I mean, you mentioned it. Everyone on Twitter is worried about the bat. By reuniting with Kevin Kiermaier, this is what Keegan's saying here. Per our Fine said, the Blue Jays are running it back with the 23 outfield. Yeah, they keep Dalton Varsho, blah, 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 blah. But here he says, it now feels like the offensive upgrades or rebranding, because that's what we're basically trying to do. We don't want to run it back with the same team, because if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to go insane. It will need to come from third base, DH, and the fourth, quote unquote, outfield spot. There's lots of options, like we said. There's JD Martinez. There's a Justin Turner. There's you can make a trade for a third base. You even got your outfielders like Cody Bellinger, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I do feel, and just like Bob Nightingale saying, there will be an offensive upgrade. It just will. Signing Kevin Kiermaier isn't going to change anything. It's not going to be like, oh, now we have to make the upgrade over in this area here. Because again, Kevin Kiermaier is going to slot in the background of the team. I think it's a great trade. And also, a quick shout out to Deep Dive Jays with the $279 donation. Shout out to you, my man. Saying Cody for first base, Vlad DH very well could be an option. What do you think, Nick? Now that we know, okay, we got Kevin Kiermaier. We know it's not going to impede any of our decisions moving forward. It complements the team. What do you think the next move is for the Toronto Blue Jays now? Like, is it going to be a snowball effect? Are we still going to be waiting, or what's around the horizon for the Toronto Blue Jays?
I would hope that it's more of this. I think that this is a good first step, and it's something that we have been calling for quite a while, right? And I think that sometimes when people say, hey, we want them to go out, we want them to make some moves, we're not always necessarily just talking about those big guys. I love these signings because it is just shoring up your baseball team and making it so that, worst comes to worst, you'll still be able to have a guy of major league players on your squad for 2023. So I would, or 2024, excuse me, I would imagine that Blue Jays now, if Cody Bellinger is still going to be taking his time, like has been reported, right? He could potentially be waiting till the end of January. So that's still 1 month away. If that's still going to be happening, well, you still got to keep bringing in guys, planning, hoping that it doesn't happen, but planning and being okay if he does go back to the Cubs or if he does go somewhere else. So I would anticipate to see some more of these, 1 year, 2 year, $10 million, $12 million, $14 million deals for some of these players who aren't necessarily going to.
Oh, no. We got you. We're back.
I was just getting a phone call right there.
Okay.
But just pick up where I left off there. They're not going to come in and they're not going to automatically win you the World Series, some of these guys that you might potentially bring in, but they are going to make it. They're going to make it so that you are a team filled with depth and filled with talent and filled with experience. So I would anticipate to see these Toronto Blue Jays start to potentially be interested and rumored with some of these other smaller guys. Like recently, I was just looking today, Yariel Rodriguez, that Cuban pitcher, right? Yariel Rodriguez, he's not going to cost an arm and a leg, but it's somebody that you can bring in that you can feel semi-good about, right? Having on your team. Again, not Cody Bellinger level, not Yamamoto level, but still somebody that you can get behind and say, okay, you know what? We can give him an opportunity. Maybe he can do something at the major league level for the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that those are going to be some of the players that you start to see the Blue Jays being rumored to.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make a big outfield move until Bellinger's done. And I don't think they're going to make a move at third base until, again, Bellinger's done. Because why? Because then if you miss on Bellinger, your first move is going to go to Matt Chapman as a fallback from the Toronto Blue Jays standpoint. From my standpoint, again, I want to make it very clear. I don't care about Matt Chapman. We can move on from him. But from a Toronto Blue Jays standpoint, that's where they're going to go. So I don't think you're going to see a third base move or a big outfield move until Cody Bellinger is off the board. I like what you're saying. Go get a bullpen guy. We got that clutch minor leaguer the other day. 36-year-old. Espino. Let's go.
I believe. Yeah, Espino.
But I think you're going to see, maybe you could potentially see some of those moves in the pitching staff that aren't dependent on Cody Bellinger. And the only maybe position player I could see, because I think a fourth outfielder, like I was looking at, you were talking about Jock Pedersen. I was talking about Jock Pedersen. That's not going to happen anymore because that was the fourth outfield move in Kevin Kiermaier. I think the only other position player move that you could possibly make that would kind of not impact, I guess, the Cody Bellinger in the Matt Chapman third baseman position needs would be a DH or maybe even a first base. So, I mean, the biggest move I could see them making before a Cody Bellinger would be like maybe a JD Martinez or a Rhys Hoskins kind of level. That could be the next kind of outside move that wouldn't impact the whole Bellinger domino effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% hear you. And again, like one of those guys, I would not feel bad at all if you lock him down and he does just become the DH, right? Because then you have that luxury if you do end up getting Cody Bellinger. But if you miss out on Cody Bellinger, then okay, no problem. Now we have Martinez. Now we have Rhys Hoskins, right? Now we have Justin Turner, or whomsoever it is, right? Like any of those players, I think they just make your team better. They make your team stronger. And something that people forget, I mean, sure, it's all about having starting lineup, and you want to get these guys as much playing time as possible. But if you think for a second that we're going to make it through the entire major league season without a goddamn injury, then you are kidding yourself, right? It's like having these players and having the depth there is really important. Kevin Kiermaier, I think, is a phenomenal signing because I don't think that we're done with the outfield. I do think that we're going to be going out and still acquiring something else there. But if one of those outfielders, Varsho or Springer or whomsoever it is that we bring in, if they go down, now you have Kevin Kiermaier ready to go, a proven commodity, a Gold Glove winning talent right there who can come in and who can be the Band-Aid solution if you need him to be. So I do love what the Jays did here. I think that you're going to see more of that. 1-2 year deals for some of these. I don't want to say filler guys because that sounds rude, and they're not filler guys. They're more than that. But at the same time, players that are going to, make your team better whilst also not necessarily being all-star caliber guys.
Hey, listen, Kevin Kiermaier had a 3.9 WAR last year. Matt Chapman had a 4.4 WAR.
Not half bad, dude. Not for 10 and a half. That's the deal.
Yeah, $10.5 million for 3.9 WAR, and he played in how many games here? Because I know he was injured a little bit. He played in 129 games. So if he played, he's not going to play a full, 162. But just put in perspective, if he did, that's better than that's better than Matt Chapman. That's a great player to add to your team, right?
Yeah.
Real quick shout out here. Got a couple super chats. Fatty McBeans with 699 Dono saying Vladdy to third, Votto to first. That's dream. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I appreciate you, man. Got Carol B saying hi, boys. Hi, boys. I think you're saying. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. This is a great signing. I'm happy to have him back. Why is everybody so negative? Don't know, Carol. Listen, 3.9 WAR, literally on pace for a better WAR than Matt Chapman. So I think that's a great signing there, Carol. I wanted to look over really quick to the payroll of the Toronto Blue Jays because now 10.5 million. Some people might be up in arms. I've been under the impression the last 2 years money ain't an object for me because it literally isn't my money. And if the Toronto Blue Jays are saying what they're saying and they have all the money, then who cares? So you got Kevin Kiermaier here. He's on our books already. Shout out to Sport Rack. 10.5 million. So the projected estimate amount for the Blue Jays to spend this offseason between 40 and 50 million. So if everyone out there who's worried about any sort of money, you're still on pace. 30 to 40 million you have left. You can easily go out and spend. And again, 1 year deal. This should not be a problem. I did also want to flash over here to another screen, and apologies everybody using StreamYards here. So we're just getting used to this new setup. Got to switch over. We already got here a roster update, and you can see the projected lineup already for the Toronto Blue Jays. Might be small for you to see there, Nick, on your phone, but you've got George Springer leadoff, Bo Bichette second, Vladdy, you got him third, Danny Jansen still DHing in that 4th spot, Kevin Biggio 5th, David Schneider 6th, Dalton Varsho 7th, Kirk 8th, and you got Kevin Kiermaier 9th. So based on what we had before, just comparing to before Kevin Kiermaier, you basically replaced Nathan Lukes in the lineup. Thoughts on that, Nick?
Well, I think that's a big swing, right? And that's something that people kind of forget, I think, right? It's like you go from Nathan Lucas or from Nathan Lucas to Kevin Kiermaier. I do think that is a sizable upgrade. Sure, it's not the Cody Bellinger upgrade that we've all hoped for and been dreaming about over Christmas, but Santa could come late to the party, right? We might still get that present. For right now, though, it is nice to see that, we don't have, no disrespect to Nathan Lucas, but that guy's starting at outfield for us on opening day, right? This lineup, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And this is one of those baby steps that's going to get it there. to being in a place that is at least competitive enough to keep up with the 2024 New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles, right? Getting some of those guys out, moving them lower on the totem pole, having a major league player like Kevin Kiermaier come in and be your 9 guy. I like that swing a lot. I think that is that's a lot of positive growth right there for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And hell, if I'm just looking right here, you signed Kevin, or you signed another outfielder. I'm assuming they're going to sign one more outfielder. I'm predicting that they're not going to start the season with this outfield because I'm looking at the depth right here on the bench. You have Spencer Horwitz, Santiago Espinal, Ernie Clement, and Nana Lopez. Well, that might have been okay for you last year. It didn't win us a single playoff game. So I'm projecting we're going to get one more outfield bat, whether that be maybe you get help. I think lowest you could go get him maybe a Jock Pederson if you miss out on Bellinger. But you're going to get another kind of impactful bat to join your team. That moves Kevin Kiermaier to the bench, and that kicks off. Let's kick off right here. Maybe, I don't know, Ernie Clement, right? Kicks off that team. So you see how now when you're adding these pieces, it's a big upgrade. So you started from Ernie Clement on the bench to maybe a Kevin Kiermaier on the bench. So now you're not only just looking at the lineup, you're looking at the depth of the entire system. Mm-hmm. So I think it's absolutely amazing.
Also, I don't know if you've discussed this or not yet, but like Kevin Kiermaier, that's a fucking locker room presence right there, man.
For sure.
That's a cool guy. That's a cool guy that Toronto, that's a fan favorite. Toronto likes Kevin Kiermaier. I like Kevin Kiermaier. I do think that Kevin Kiermaier, barring the whole incident where he stole the play
play card or whatever, yeah,
2 years ago. But other than that, this is a stand-up dude. Okay, this is a nice guy, and the locker room likes Kevin Kiermaier. I don't know if you could say that necessarily, no disrespect to him, but to a guy like a Whit Merrifield, right, who has kind of felt like he was on the outside of the team looking in. Still a great player, still a great guy, but maybe not necessarily the guy that was right for the locker room. Kevin Kiermaier, you see the camaraderie that he shares with the other players on that team. You see it every single time that they win a game and the outfield comes together and has a big hug and song and dance and they're jumping around in the outfield, right? That's not fake. That's a real thing that we see him and Springer and Varsho do on the daily when they're out together. I think that this signing, even if for most of the time he's sitting on the bench, you are still going to see the positives throughout because he is such a loved player among that team.
Yeah. Yo, you want to? We were talking so much about investments, right? How many people now that were kind of on the edge about Kevin Kiermaier loved him a lot, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going to buy his jersey just yet. They go and they sign him here. If I'm like just a casual baseball fan and I love Kevin Kiermaier and he's coming back, maybe I might consider it. Look, a $10.5 million is a great investment on the field. That's a great investment on the field. Could be possible now you're starting to create a fan favorite guy to come back, right? Think about all the stretch he had at the end there, even with the camaraderie he had with the outfield. Remember when he had that at the end of the year last year and he's like, well, we're going to be in October or whatever he said. I can't even remember it at this point. Remember that? He took the mic and he's like, we're going to be in playoffs, wild card or whatever it is.
I think like, that's the attitude, man. I think that the energy that he brings, like that doesn't go unnoticed. That doesn't go unchecked, right? That is if you had a player card, a player attribute, that would be one of those attributes, attitude, positivity, morale boost, all of that shit. Kevin Kiermaier brings it to your team. I mean, finishing thoughts for me, and then I'll hop off and I'll let you kind of do the rest here. But I like the signing a lot. I like Kevin Kiermaier. We're not done. I'm very happy that Bob Nightingale came out and said immediately afterwards, we are still in on Cody Bellinger. So we're not done. The big fish is still there. But this is what I've been calling for a long time. Go out, start getting your baseball team ready for 2024. You can still go out and get the big guy. But if not, at least we know what we're going to get in Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, we do. All right, Nick, thank you for coming on. I'll wrap this up here. I'll answer some questions in the chat. And until then, we'll be back, guys, later this week for some Blue Jays Today show and some more content. So stay tuned, guys. Nick will be a part of that.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Happy holidays to you and your family. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, guys. Take care.
Merry Christmas, Nick. All right. So, y'all, that was Nick's breakdown. Me and him kind of going back and forth right there. Yeah, I'm reading all your comments in the chat. Big shout out to Raul. Boris using the Jays as leverage for Martinez DH. Maybe, man. Listen, I know we've been used a lot as leverage, but everybody gets used as leverage, man. I mean, hell, did Kevin Kiermaier use the Yankees as leverage? I know we kind of heard a little bit of rumbling over there. You could say the same thing, right? And you also, just a fun note here, just from a Canadian Toronto Blue Jays just standpoint, it's really funny when a player does come to Toronto, they often really want to stay. You know, some people want to go. Yeah, for sure. You could point out a bunch of guys in the past that wanted to go. But hey, I mean, Kevin Kiermaier had his pick of the litter. Anybody want a quality? The Yankees wanted them. But again, they got Verdugo, they got Soto. So maybe they kind of left that market a little bit, right? So I guess you could kind of argue me right there. But anybody else who wanted a quality center fielder could have gotten him. But we got him. But we got him, guys. I want to wrap up, speaking of that Bellinger stuff right there, because I want to kind of end every single video and podcast talking about what does the future look like? Because we're Blue Jays today. What does Blue Jays look like tomorrow? Like Bob Nightingale said, you know, we have a need to bring back Cody Bellinger, but he also says here the Cubs certainly have a greater need and desire to bring back Bellinger to Chicago. I don't know I don't necessarily know if that's a true statement. For me personally, I've looked at the Cubs system. Maybe you're a Cubs fan out there. I'm going to share my screen here. Maybe you're a Cubs fan out there, and you can argue me on this. I don't necessarily know if they have a greater need. Are you saying that the Blue Jays don't need a power left-handed bat, or the Cubs need a power left-handed bat more than the Toronto Blue Jays? Because I broke down the Cubs system and what they're looking at, and literally what their general manager, Carter Hawkins, was talking about, that they would rather prioritize getting their young guys an opportunity to play, right? Pete Crow Armstrong is one of those guys. I don't necessarily know if that's the correct terminology, because I could make an argument that the Blue Jays actually need Cody Bellinger more than Chicago Cubs. Maybe I'm biased because we've been dying for a left-handed power guy for a long time. We don't have any in our system coming up. Whereas, you know, you look over at the Cubs. I don't know if Pete is a power lefty, but he's a guy that they've wanted to prioritize getting playing time, right? So I don't necessarily agree. I think this is a bit of a bias on his end, thinking that the Cubs might go and swing Kevin Kiermaier, or Cody Bellinger over the Blue Jays. So listen, I think we're still very much on it. Again, I don't think this is going to be I think it's going to be another month before we hear something that Bellinger makes the decision. But I don't think we're going to make that big signing for another month. I hope we make some sort of smaller kind of deal before then. That would be great. Again, looking on the outside, maybe some pitching, DH, first base. That's where you can kind of see some upgrades for the Blue Jays. And yes, Benji with the facts. Adam, so close to 22K subs. We were up there a little bit. We kind of wavered around there. So, guys, if you can hit that like and hit that subscribe button, guys, that would be dope if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to wrap it up right here, everybody. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let's hope we get some more holiday news, some gifts from Ross Atkins for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a great first signing. I love Kevin Kiermaier. I love that he's back with the Blue Jays. But you guys, let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, guys, go Jays, go.